So, hello and welcome to a new video. This is my first video in English, but in German I've done about 112 coronavirus videos. This is the number 104 in Germany. It's called The Pandemic That Was Not Won. This is the translation. So, I've been asked to make an English version of this video. Would be very honored if you follow my channel, if you give it a like, and maybe you can help me. I'm a medical profession in Germany, specialized in ORL, and I have a center for vertigo diseases in the town of Sinsheim in Germany. So how come that an ORL doctor is doing videos about the COVID-19 disease? It's about in February my staff was very concerned about this new disease out of Wuhan, and I had a look at the pictures of the Johns Hopkins University and the internet, and I have taken the numbers and put them to a relation to the people who are living in Wuhan and in the world. And I told my staff not to panic, because I think panic is, in an emergency situation, the worst thing you can do, because I'm an emergency doctor too. And the first thing you learn is, in case of emergency, to keep cool, to keep calm, because no one will get a benefit when you are panicking. But a strange thing in the COVID-19 disease, the only thing the mainstream media and also the politicians are doing is giving panic to the people. This is not a normal behavior in this kind of situation. So I'm starting to make videos, and welcome to my first English video. I would be very happy about support for my work. If it's possible for you, you can give me a small amount of money. This is my bank account number. Thanks for everyone who supports me. This is very kindful. Thank you very much in advance. So, let's go back to the main thing. So how it all began: there was a doctor in Wuhan, and his name was Dr. Li Wenlian, and he died in the age of 33 years, much too young. And this doctor told, in a sort like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger system they use in China, he warned his colleagues about a very severe breakout of a new infection, and he's being caught by the government, and they told him to stop yelling around such things. And after a short period, this increases over the networks in the world, wondering how this could leave China. It's not typical for the Chinese government. So everyone looks at China. We have a few pictures. We've seen the things in Wuhan, and we see Dr. Wuhan lying in the bed with a mask, with oxygen on his nose, and he's showing his ID card, and he's dying. So he died, and this is how it all began. Still wondering how these pictures could leave China at all. So the power of pictures is something we all knew, and these pictures frighten us. It frightens us when there is a very, very large ship with a red cross on it, and it's extra ventilators for New York, and we've seen pictures of coffins and of trucks with coffins, and we've seen these pictures out of hospitals in Bergamo in Italy. And this is one of the things which happens there, because also in the last decades, when there was a flu, these pictures were similar, because they don't have much beds. And when you see this situation and there are lying people around and they have an infection disease, maybe flu, something like this, or COVID-19, doesn't matter, then this it's pretty clear why there is a breakout, because these are super spreaders, and doctors in Bergamo, they were helpless, and they sent old people back to the home of the elderly, and they are also super spreaders. So there were some mistakes in this situation. I don't blame them. This is a situation no one will have. It's a pity what happened there, but we can learn out of these things. When there is a new infection, there is one thing to be done. You have to, it's called the Kochsche Postulate. Robert Koch is the founder of some interesting things about infection diseases. And one is these Kochsche Postulate. It means that if you have a body who is ill by something you don't know, then you have to look what is different to a body which is healthy. And then maybe you figure out these black things right here is something which is normal. Then you have to take it out of the body and cultivate it so that you can grow new of them. And then you have to put it back in another body, which is normally it's an animal, where you can look if it's growing, if it's starting to get a new disease, and this disease have to be the same as before. Then you can say, okay, this is something new we found out. This hasn't been done with the COVID-19 disease. This is interesting to know, because the way of the PCR test was there were 4 dead bodies in Wuhan, and they are using they're making something we call a bronchial lavage. You take some water with salt, and you're cleaning up the lung of the dead bodies, and the thing you get out, you examine if there's something strange about what you don't know before. And they found one sort of RNA thing, and they didn't know if it's a virus. It could be a virus, they don't know. They said, we have to do these Kochsche Postulate thing. We have to look, we have to inject it into animals to see if it grows, or we are really not sure what is it. And they make a paper. And Dr. Drosten from Germany found this paper, and he created a PCR test for the sequence of amino acids. And he sent it back, and they tried it on the patients in Wuhan, and it's getting positive results. So this is all what has been done to look if this is really the real thing you're looking for. And in Wuhan, they built a hospital in about 8 days. Great thing what they've done there. So in 8 days they built this hospital. It's just a wonder, but when you look inside, it's more like a prison. These doors are permanently closed. There is, have a look at this. It's not a hospital you want to lie in. And you don't know what happened to these patients, because right now the politics works perfectly. You don't have any pictures how they treat the patients, what is the outcome, how many have died, and all the things. It's not a hospital what I imagine normally. So, but in the meantime, we have some interesting things happening. There was a cruiser called the Diamond Princess. There were 2 U.S. French aircraft carrier, a U.S. aircraft carrier, Theodore Roosevelt and Charles de Gaulle. There was a prison in the state of Tennessee, and in Germany there was a town called Heinsberg. And these give lots of information about how dangerous this virus is, and how you get in contact to it, and how many people die in what age. And we have, in the meantime, we had results from Italy. They've done a great work. So very early we know, for example, from Stanford, Professor Johan Ioannidis, he showed in a lot of papers using data from the cruise ship Diamond Princess and other, that there is not such a high lethality of COVID-19. It's not very high. Japanese studies and other. So we knew there is the first frightened situation is not true. So normally we could calm down a bit, but we haven't. So we have papers here from the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, the COVID-19 dashboard from May the 6th, 2020. We see here that the people in all ages are getting infected. Doesn't matter, but we've seen very early that only elderly and very sick people are getting a severe infection, and it's dangerous for them. So normally I would think that if you're a politician and you're seeing this curve, that you would say, okay, there is no need to kill the whole economic system of this planet. We can protect the elderly or the ill people in the homes, or in the hospitals. But there is no need, for example, for the pupils in the school or for the people in the street, the workers. This would be very efficiency not to put them in a lockdown situation. Who's dying? The people die who have become older than the average life expectancy. They become older than the average life expectancy. The problem is that anyone who has a positive PCR test is considered a COVID-19 death. If you are hit by a train or plane or a car or a bus and you have a positive PCR test, then worldwide you're a death by COVID-19. This is not a joke. It should be, but it isn't. Even patients right now in Germany who suffered maybe in March, they have a positive PCR test. Now in July, they are hit by a train, plane, car, bus. They also died on COVID-19. This is not a joke. So sometimes I'm asking myself, how many COVID deaths do I know? How many people with cancer do I know? How many people with a car accident do I know? So have a look at the spreading of the ages in the COVID-19 disease in Germany. So I'm from Germany, so I use a lot of data from Germany because I have them a little bit easier. So you see it's about the age of 60 or older. Most people die in the age older than 70 up to over 100 years. And this is the same as when you compare the last 10 years. When you look in what age do people die, then you find something very equal to this. And you have to think about, no one talks about the flu deaths of this year. And I wonder why this isn't the cause, because you could think that the COVID-19 disease eradicates the flu, because there is no flu death in the world. It's all this COVID-19 disease. This is not the truth. Given these facts, what is the point of a lockdown and a mask obligation? The risk of death for the general population of school and working ages, even in the global hotspots, is mostly in the area of a daily car ride to work. This is something also Professor Ioannidis from Stanford figured out. And when you have a look, this is a very interesting address, taking myself out of the picture, sbprs.org. There is in all languages, also in English, very interesting informations about the COVID-19 disease. And in many countries, up to 2/3 of all deaths occurred in the nursing homes that do not benefit from a general lockdown. So what was and what is the reason of a lockdown? Imagine more than 80% of the people don't have any problems with this kind of disease. And if right now, when you look at the world, the cure is much more worse than the COVID-19 disease has ever been. So we have to stop this sort of lockdown thing. It's not something we should do. Almost half of the global workforce, 1.6 billion people, are in immediate danger of having their livelihoods destroyed by the economic impact of COVID-19, the International Labour Organization has warned. And this is from the 29th of April. It's much more worse right now in the situation. And how is it? Yeah, we've been told in America everything is very, very, very out of control, and it's the people are dying. And Sweden doesn't make a lockdown, doesn't wear masks. Where do Sweden stand? Has made a mistake? So I will show you about Sweden. So this is a comparison between Sweden, no lockdown, with New York State. So the blue curve is the New York State curve. The green one is the curve of Sweden, the death. And you have to imagine the middle age of the people who died in Sweden is 86 years. 86 years. Without a lockdown, without a collapse of the whole economic. Look, Sweden has done something really good. They followed the numbers. They followed the brain. I must say that there is a little lack of brain. So also in Germany, when you have a look in Germany, the last real infection we've recognized was in the first week of April. I might start the lights a little bit. Just a second, please. This is live. So I'm back in a few seconds. Okay, it's a little bit better. It's a little bit sun inside. Okay. So the curve decreases from the beginning of April, and as you see, but let's have a look at America, because it's an English video, so I figured out the numbers of America. Just a second, here it is. The blue curve is the curve of the positive PCR tests of COVID-19 in the US. The red curve are the death people. These curves doesn't follow each other. Why is this? I will show you. When you increase the number of the tests, you will increase the positive findings. But is this an indication that there are more ill people? No, it isn't. Imagine you're going into a forest and you want to collect cranberries. You're going alone and you have 1 hour of time to select cranberries in the forest. So you will find an amount, 1 bucket maybe. So when you go with 4 people for 1 hour in the same forest, maybe you will find 4 times the same buckets of cranberries, but this doesn't increase the numbers of the cranberries in the forest. Some of the people you are going with are stupid. They can't recognize the difference between a strawberry and a cranberry. So they collect as well strawberries in their buckets. You're getting more cases, because there are some false positive cases. This is what happens here. When you increase the number of the tests, you will find more positive PCR tests, not ill people, positive PCR tests. You have to keep this different. But when you're doing some other thing that you say, okay, I will look how is it in comparison to 1,000 tests, then there is not this increase that you can imagine here. For sure, there is a little increase, but this is by the false positive tests, because the more people are not ill, the more false positive tests will occur. This sounds a little bit strange, but it's the truth. And here you can see the people dying in the US per day. It's decreasing, it's not increasing. It doesn't matter what your mainstream media is telling you. It's fake news, it's not the truth. It's something you figure out when you're not working honestly with numbers. When you're working honestly with numbers, there is a decrease, not an increase. You don't need to add them one to another. This is the false way to do it. And also, when you look at the cases and infestation of the SARS-CoV-2 virus in America, this is from the CDC, the Center of Disease Control. This is the truth that America is at its limits. So this is Russia. It's equal, but don't talk about Russia. So, going back, I'll put this away. Okay, and this one. Okay, so the next thing here is, when I look at Germany, we can see that the suicide rate increases. This is something very pity we also heard from the US or from the UK or other foreign countries. We have to stop this foolish lockdown thing, this foolish mask wearing thing. The idea of an endless pandemic is, it is not the curse of the disease. It's not the disease or scientific data that will determine the end of the pandemic. It's politicians. Politicians who will lose their face and maybe their fate if they tell the truth. They are not honestly. They knew what's the truth. Politicians insist on the statement, if a vaccination is available, then everything will be fine. Have a look at the vaccinations. I don't believe in people who are not able to make a sufficient vaccine for flu. This is the curve from the Robert Koch Institute in Germany of the people older than 60 years of the efficiency of the flu vaccination. It's about 10%. 10%. In the last 3 years, you have a higher risk to get a flu infection when you are vaccinated than not to get it. And these COVID-19 thing, SARS-CoV-2, is something which is much more difficult. You need a RNA vaccination. We've never done something like this before. And it's a very, 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 very tiny thing, this SARS-CoV-2 thing. So it's you can compare it to the AIDS virus. And for the last 40 years, we don't have a vaccination of the AIDS virus, do we? No, we don't. But we can vaccine in a wave of hands. This is like magic. But look what happens. 4 Ukraine army servicemen in the COVID-19 vaccine trial died. This is from the 17th of July. 4 Ukraine service members died after COVID-19 vaccine trials, said LPR People's Military Press Service. The total of 15 volunteers were exposed to the vaccine and medication produced by American virologists in the Kharkov region. 8 of the volunteers were soon transferred to intensive care units. 3 were put on ventilation. The IC units could not treat them adequately as the components of the vaccine were not known to them, and as a result, 5 patients, 4 of them Ukrainian army service members, died. The COVID-19 disease is much less danger than this sort of vaccination. But there must be something about this whole thing. There is a plot. There is a plot for this pandemic. Right now I know about 5 plots. One of Rockefeller Foundation, one of these, how is it called, German Institute for Catastrophe Medicine, and the Event 201, and how we get COVID-19 under control by the government of the German public. You can load it down from our Bundestag. It's a strange thing. And all the things happens in between in Germany doesn't have any effect. You know, the Black Lives Matters demos, you have them in America, you have them in other countries. We also had great, very big demonstrations in Germany as well. And there was no effect. There were no new ill people. And the mask we have to wear, you don't see any effects in the hospitals. This yellow curve you see here are the ICU beds, and we have some hotspots. There was a slaughtery called Tönnies, and this slaughtery had 2,000 new COVID-19 breakout disease. 0 died. Normally 80 had to die, if this is the truth. There are 20 people have been brought to hospital. 3 are still in hospital. None of them is in the ICU. And also in Germany, they tried to start a new. This is this one curve here is the thing from Tönnies, where there's a little peak at the end. And they started more and more tests, as they've done in the US. I told you. Have a look at our intensive care units. It's from the DV. It's a central register for the beds in the hospitals, the ICU beds. And the red one at the bottom, these are patients treated in ICU units with a positive PCR test. They are not patients with a COVID-19 disease. These are patients with many diseases, and they are treated in the ICU with a positive PCR test of COVID-19. Please keep this clearly separated. Everyone looks at Germany and say they have done it better. No, they haven't. Sweden has done it better. The world lies in ruins. It's not the blame of the virus. It's a blame of the politics, of the politicians. I dream of a beautiful, peaceful future for everyone, and especially for our children. It's their world. I don't want them to grow up in a mask world, in a fascistoid world where you're afraid of all sorts of contact to other people, where you take vaccines, where you don't have money, you have chips under your skin. This is nothing I want for my children. I want for them a new world order, but a new world order, not a new world order as Mr. Bill Gates thought of this. At the end of the Second World War, the conditions for reconstructing the world were much worse. We've managed it together. Let us together build a new world order, but a good one for all people. Not only for a few, a handful super rich people which are trying to rule the world right now. Thank you for watching my video. If you want to do me a favor, follow my channel, give me a like, spread this video wherever you like to, and if you want me to, I will make the new videos also in English as well, not only in German. I'm pretty sure we can change the world. We can stop this narrative about the COVID-19 disease. Spread it, load it up to BitCute, Telegram or something like this. I'm pretty sure it won't stay very long at YouTube. And again, I would be very happy about your support if you like to give me a helping hand. I thank you very much for everything. And yes, please be honest. Make yourself a new picture of the world. And right now I'm very happy that Mr. Donald Trump is the President of the United States. If you asked me last year, I'm not pretty sure, but right now he's the one who can make a change in the world. And I hope that we all together can give an end to this show. Thank you very much for watching. It was my first video in English. I hope my English was understandable. Goodbye. Good night from Germany. Love, peace and understanding. This is what I want to have. Thank you very much.